Hi, I'm Caleb Giddings from Gun Nuts Media. Today's video is going to be a little long. There's a good reason for that, though, because it's about an important subject. Most of my viewers are not law enforcement officers, you're not cops. So what we want to talk about today is how to interact with law enforcement when you are legally carrying a concealed firearm. There's a lot that goes into this, and because of that, this video is going to be broken down into parts. So part one, the first part, the thing that we want to talk about is how to avoid law enforcement. I don't say that in the sense of running from the cops or anything like that, but rather avoiding those encounters entirely in the first place. All right, nobody likes to get pulled over, nobody likes to get stopped by the police. So there are really three things that you can do to avoid encountering law enforcement entirely. The first is ripped off, I believe, from John Farnham, and it's the rule of stupids. And that's don't do stupid things in stupid places at stupid times with stupid people. All right? If you avoid doing any of those, if you avoid doing that one thing, which is really four things, you'll probably not meet the police. All right? There's a joke that Chris Rock tells where nobody ever took $400 out of an ATM at 4 a.m. for a good reason, and that's generally true. All right? You know, if you go to bars, be smart about it. If you hang out with people who like to get in trouble with the law, maybe find new friends. You know, I don't have friends who do drugs. I don't have friends who get DUIs and stuff like that. Not because I don't want to be around people, but because I don't need that sort of negative influence in my life, which could lead me to having an encounter with law enforcement, which would be bad for my career, to be honest. The second thing you can do to avoid encounters with law enforcement is pretty straightforward. Don't break the law. I know that sounds like craziness, but it's not. I'm not talking about don't rob banks, don't murder people, don't do shit like that. What I'm talking about here is petty stuff. Make sure your car's taillights work. Make sure your brake lights work. If you've got a cracked windshield, fix it. Don't speed. Don't change lanes without signaling. If you have warrants for petty shit, pay your warrants off. Don't be that dirtbag who's running around with $600 in warrants and hasn't paid them off because I don't know why you would do that. Pay your warrants. And the reason we talk about this is the things that are going to cause you to have interactions with law enforcement, generally speaking, are petty things. If you're generally a law-abiding citizen, you're going to get pulled over for speeding. You're going to get pulled over for having a busted taillight, things like that. So don't do those things, and you will probably minimize your chances of encountering law enforcement. And the last one is, again, general advice on how to avoid law enforcement, but it's be smart. I know that seems sort of silly to say, but it's just as applicable as the first two, all right? If you're going to be carrying a gun as a private citizen, I almost said civilian, and then somebody would have got butthurt in the comments, oh, cops are civilians too. Yes, I know, okay, anyway. If you're going to be carrying a gun as a private citizen, be smart. Don't, like I said, don't go stupid places with stupid people at stupid times. Don't break the law, but apply common sense to your actions, all right? We don't want to let our guns rule our lives, but at the same time, you have to be smart about what you're doing when you're carrying a gun. Okay, so now we've covered how to generally avoid law enforcement. It's pretty good, right? Like, you don't want to get pulled over. I don't want to get pulled over. I do, but I don't want to. So we've covered that. Now we want to look at what to do when you do encounter law enforcement. And for the most part, we are going to focus on traffic stops. And the reason we're going to focus on traffic stops is those make up the bulk of citizen and law enforcement interactions. Traffic stops. The first thing, and the very first solid, deep, meaningful piece of advice I can give you about traffic stops is don't be a dick. All right? Don't be a dick to the cop. Even if the cop is a dick to you, which generally speaking, they're not, don't be a dick to the cop, okay? When I say don't be a dick, I'm not talking about complying with everything or throwing away your civil rights. That's not it. However, if you get pulled over by the cops, roll your window down a quarter of an inch, and the first words out of your mouth are, am I being detained? You're being a dick. Don't do that. It makes a stressful situation more stressful for everyone. Give him your driver's license, sign your ticket, whatever. The place to fight that sort of thing, even if the officer is being rude to you, isn't on the side of the road. It never is. You're not going to win. You're going to end up in handcuffs, more than likely. The place to fight that isn't the side of the road. The place to fight it is the courtroom. A professional law enforcement officer that I've known for many, many years has a saying, and it's something that's 100% true. No one has ever talked their way out of handcuffs, but plenty of people have talked their way into handcuffs. Don't be a dick. The second piece of advice that we want to get into after the whole don't be a dick sort of thing is know your laws. Know what you're required to do where you are. So, for example, South Dakota. There's no duty to inform here in South Dakota. If I get pulled over, I make the educated choice on whether or not I'm going to inform the officer based on the situation. Usually what I do here in South Dakota and in other states where I don't have a duty to inform is I don't tell the cop that I'm carrying unless I'm going to have to get out of my vehicle. In which case then I say, hey, I have a concealed carry permit, I have the gun on me, I tell them where it's located, and then I say, what would you like me to do next? And we'll get into that in a minute as well. Minnesota, a place that I go a lot, does have a duty to inform. So, again, I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing and following the state laws. So those are sort of our general preparatory things to dealing with the actual traffic stop. Now we're going to get into some actual things to do and things not to do. First off, we're going to assume that you have a duty to inform, okay? So we're going to assume you're in a state that requires that sort of thing. Hey, buddy, you want to be in the video too? No, you just want to lay back there? Okay. So we're going to assume that you live in a state that requires that sort of thing, all right? And we're going to take this traffic stop from beginning to end. First things happen, you get pulled over, okay? Pull your vehicle over to the side of the road, parking lot, well-lit area. There's a lot of videos out there on how to be safe during traffic stops. You want to be, in a well-lit area, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, do that. Next thing you do, if it's nighttime, roll your windows down, turn your dome light on, and what I like to do is I put my hands right here on the steering wheel. I don't fish around for my driver's license. I don't fish around for my insurance paperwork. I don't do any of that. I just sit there in the car with my windows down and my hands visible. Well, if it's daytime, I don't worry about the dome light. I roll all my windows down and do this. And the reason I want to do that is it sets the tone for the stop so that the officer who comes up to me is like, okay, he doesn't have anything in his hands, everything's pretty copacetic. The next thing that I do, so we're going to, again, operate off the assumption that this is a duty to inform state. So the next thing that I do, when the officer gets to my window, he's going to ask me his questions, and I'm going to, answer his questions. Then I'm going to say, officer, I have a concealed carry permit. I'm carrying my weapon on me right now. It's located wherever it is that I carry my weapon. What would you like me to do next? And then I'm not going to move. All right? And the reason I'm not going to move is I have now introduced a weapon into this traffic stop. All right, so this cop knows I have a gun. He's now probably a little bit more nervous than he was before. And so I'm just going to sit there, and I'm going to wait for him to give me a command. I've had traffic stops where they've been like, cool, don't pull it out and everything will be fine. All right, and that's what we did. We went through the whole traffic stop. I got my ticket. Everything was fine. I've had other traffic stops where they've had me get out of the vehicle and give them the gun. I've had it go both ways. But I cannot stress enough. Once you inform the officer that you have a weapon on you, don't freaking move until they ask you to. All right? Just don't. Don't be like, hey, I've got a gun on me, and then reach for your wallet. Not a good idea. So, once you do that, then just follow the officer's instructions from there. They're going to tell you what they want you to do, whether they want you to take the gun out, whether they want you to keep it in the holster, whether they want you to exit the vehicle. When they do, follow those instructions, all right? You're probably not going to get thrown on the ground, and you're probably not going to eat pavement or anything like that. You might get manhandled a little bit, but whatever. And again, to kind of backtrack, if you feel like you are treated unfairly or unjustly, or your civil rights are violated or something like that, the side of the friggin' road is not the place to have that out. Court. That's literally what court is for. Well, it's for a lot of things, but that's one of the many things that court is for, all right? Have that out in court. Don't fight it out on the side of the road, okay? Just don't. You're not going to win. You're going to end up in handcuffs, and then you are going to eat pavement. So, once you've informed the officer, follow their instructions. Yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full, sir. And again, I'm not saying that you should comply and you should allow your civil rights to be violated. It depends. There's a lot of variables in that. But how can I put this in a delicate way? You're much better off enduring a slight indignity and dealing with it later through the court system than you are flapping your gums and eating pavement. How about, yeah, we just go with that. The last piece of advice for traffic stops is, again, once you've informed, once you've complied with officer commands and all of that stuff, is be courteous, be professional, be respectful. And this is important because your whole interaction in this traffic stop, from putting your hands on the wheel, not digging around for your wallet, informing the officer, following officer commands, everything about your attitude during this is going to influence how you're treated by that officer. If you're rude, again, it goes back to the whole don't be a dick thing. Don't be a dick. If you're rude, if you're disrespectful, if you cause problems, it's going to make the stop worse for you. So don't do those things, all right? I know this video, it just skims the surface. There's a ton of different things that we can go into, from how to act, during the stop, what to do if the stop goes wrong. There's a lot of different details. Don't borrow cars from people you don't know. I got fun stories about that. Not my fun stories, other people's fun stories. But anyway, just to kind of summarize everything that we've talked about. To avoid encounters with law enforcement, don't go stupid places at stupid times with stupid people, and don't break the law. When you do have those encounters with law enforcement, be courteous, be polite, be professional, don't be a dick, and if there are problems, fight it out in court, not at the side of the road. If you have questions or comments about this video, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like our videos, please consider supporting us on Patreon. It's patreon.com/gunnutsmedia. And thank you very much for watching. I hope that this video has been educational and informative to you, and that the next time you're pulled over, you have a great encounter with law enforcement.